Nick Darr here with Big Z Media. Hope you enjoy the episodes of Business Over Brew, and pleased to have the Riverbend Growth Association as the sponsor of this program. Our missions are kind of the same, really. We're attempting to educate people about business, foster business in the Riverbend community. The Big Z has been a member of the Growth Association forever, probably back to our inception as a company almost. We have always been members of the Growth Association, have gotten a lot of benefits from it. There's so many networking opportunities you can take advantage of. I've met so many great people just because I've been a member of the Growth Association and taken advantage of all the events that they have, plus just some of the resources they provide you, the relationships you build, just lots of great reasons to join the Growth Association. They do a lot of great things in the community as well. They highlight a different nonprofit every month. So really, they're just invested in the community here, and especially the small business community, which is what Business Over Brew is really all about, which is helping the small business community, because it's so important to any community to have a thriving business community. And the Growth Association has really helped with that. If you want more information about joining or events that might be coming up, they have events all the time that you should definitely take advantage of. I'm going to give you the website to go to. Just head to growthassociation.com. You can get a membership directory. You can see who's taking advantage of it. You can see about the events that are there, learn more about possibly becoming a member. Or if you already are a member, you can find out what's going on with the Growth Association at growthassociation.com. So just again, big thank you to the Riverbend Growth Association for sponsoring Business Over Brew. Welcome to Business Over Brew. I'm your host, Nick Darr. Pleased to be joining you from the Great Rivers Tap and Grill inside the Best Western Premier Hotel. Terrific restaurant here in Alton. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend you do so. Great menu and really one of the best restaurants in our area. You do not have to travel far to have a great meal. You can do so right here at the Great Rivers Tap and Grill inside the Best Western Premier Hotel. Thanks to our sponsors, the Riverbend Growth Association. Appreciate the partnership with them. This is a show where we talk business with some of the Riverbend's most interesting and influential business people, and sometimes that means nonprofits. And today we have Kelly Vandersand, the interim director at Treehouse Wildlife Center, joining us. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's always tough to pick it up without throwing the coaster everywhere.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Treehouse Wildlife Center.
Okay. I am a prior military and I'm a veteran, and I took over the interim director in September of last year. So our founder, Adele Moore, drug us through 43 years, leading us, clawing, biting, scratching, fighting to keep us going as an organization. And she retired for the third time officially. Somebody mailed her a gold watch and said she's finally done. But that doesn't mean she's still not available. She is a wealth of knowledge, and she has a lot of experience in saving wildlife, so and running a small nonprofit. So we do occasionally still knock on her door, and it's like, Adele, I know you're in there. Can you answer a few questions?
You know, I took over, just purchased the radio station or the media company from Sam Stem, who had been the owner for a number of years, and he and I are great friends. He's a terrific mentor for me, but it is interesting. I won't say difficult, but there's some challenges presented by taking over for somebody that was, very well respected and ran things a certain way, but you're not going to do everything the exact same way. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge. Maybe speak to that a little bit.
It is. There is a huge difference between animal-minded people and military-minded people. We're a little bit more about databases, which,
sure.
We could use a little bit more data maintenance, database maintenance, so I've been really good about that. But with animal people, it's all about every cent, every aspect, everything is to save one more animal. Not to say that I don't appreciate that, otherwise I wouldn't have stuck with this organization for 8 years. But it is hard to have, when it's been run more about everything saving the animals, to, hey, wait, our budget's getting a little out of control, or, let's find out exactly where, all of our release sites are and make a database. And so, yeah, it's...
Well, it's fascinating just in and of itself that you went from military to peace-loving possums. So.
I know. I thought that would be a great statement. So possums do get a bad rap. Everybody thinks they're a rat. They're not. But yeah, so I did not expect my life to bring me here. I grew up part-time in the city, part-time on my family farm. So I understood the environment. I understood and liked animals and wildlife and all that. But when I got out of the military, my mom came to visit, and we stopped at the Jerseyville Public Library, and Treehouse had some flyers there. And so I, opened up the flyer. It said visitors welcome. I went, challenge accepted. And then they said we have a volunteer program. I was like, challenge number 2 accepted. And they haven't been able to get rid of me yet.
Do you remember, was there something specific about that first visit that you were really drawn to, that really attracted you to it?
Awesome story. There was a young lady in there. She was the weekend rehabber. She was in the eagle enclosure, and she was tossing out food for the eagles. And I looked at her and I was like, how are they not ripping your face off? She said, one, they're habituated. And so, that's not what their main goal is. They know I'm in here feeding or doing maintenance. So they're not really interested in me. They're happy they're being fed. They're very well cared for. So they're not interested in ripping off my face. And I was like, where do I sign up? So I was just, to me, she was in an enclosure with 4 bald eagles,
right,
our largest raptor in the area. And I was like, this is amazing. How do I become part of this organization? And like I said, it's just been up from there.
8 years later, you're still there.
Yes.
What are some of the changes that have taken place? Well, let me back up. Just talk a little bit about the mission of Treehouse Wildlife Center and what you guys do out there for people that don't know.
Okay. Our mission, well, let's talk about our location first of all.
Sure,
we are almost right in the middle of the flyway called Mississippi Flyway. So this is where all of the birds migrate north and south for winter and spring season. So over 325 different species of animals migrate through this corridor, and we are almost right smack in the middle of the United States section of that corridor. So that is a lot of animals that come through our area following the Mississippi River. So out of all of those species, we also then do work with any animal that is native to the state of Illinois, with the exceptions of bats and skunks, which we cannot do legally in the state. We're working to get that changed. Adult deer, they're very dangerous and they'll kill you, and that's a whole different way to work with them. So we don't have a permit for those either, but we can work with fawns. And then raccoons is animals that we ask our local home rehabbers who have license to work with those, because they have a lot of specialized care that is a lot more funding, a lot more management, and a lot more staff hours. So if our home rehabbers take them, then that frees us up for every other species that we can legally take. So we're covered under state and federal licensing and permits. And so we are one of the only centers that have both state and federal licensing, from Quincy over to Springfield and down into the Carbondale area. So we have a massive area that we try to save animals out of.
Really, when you look at the history of a business or a nonprofit, any organization, I mean, the things that have been accomplished over 43 years are quite amazing. I mean, that's a lot of things that people probably wouldn't have thought of that go into licensing and all the things that you have to do to work well and kind of prosper in the state of Illinois, or really anywhere, I guess. But.
Yes. So, and our founder actually helped set national standards for wildlife rehabilitation care under the National Wildlife Rehabilitation Association. She was a founding member of that and helped set the standards and that are still being used today.
Right. So 8 years doing it, what's the most rewarding part of it for you?
It is those animals that have come in the last 3 years or couple of years. We've had several abuse cases come in. And so for us, we had Mama Opossum, and some kids were beating her up with a baseball bat. Somebody else interfered, got the animal, and got her away from them, and several of her babies were dead. She had a crushed-in sinus cavity and a broken jaw. We did not think she was going to make it, but we were working hard to save her because her babies were too small for us to care for at our center. So the longer she survived, the better chances her babies would have. So she slowly pulled through. Her joeys got big enough. We were able to take them out. And then when we got the joeys that were too small for us, she fostered those. So she fostered 3 rounds of babies, and she made a full recovery. We worked with Heartlands Conservancy to find her a location on private property that is protected to release her back to the wild. So, you know, and it's just an opossum. So that's an opossum story.
Right.
Just imagine the lead poisoned eagles that we've released, and then they fly off and go on and live their lives. It's amazing. I can't tell you, it's like 45 minutes of intense buildup while everybody's showing up for the public release. You release them, it's like 30 seconds, the animal's gone, and then everybody's going, what do we do now?
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, there is something absolutely wonderful and beautiful about being able to return these animals to the wild. That's our complete mission. If it's healthy enough, it goes back to the wild. We don't decide to keep them for education. We provide sanctuary for animals that can't go back. That's where the visitors can come in and learn about our native wildlife. But releasing an animal to the wild is just amazing.
So those are the great days, the days where it really kind of lets you know, man, we're doing good work here. What are some of the challenging days, some of the biggest challenges that you face there?
Telling people we can't save their animal. So we get people who have invested their time, their emotions. They've picked up this animal that could rip their face off potentially. So they've risked their personal health collecting this animal. They've driven an hour, 2 hours, maybe even 3 animals, only for them to bring it in and say, save this animal, I rescued it. And we tell them there's absolutely nothing we can do. The damage is too extensive, or the wounds are too grievous. We're bound by some state and federal laws, but we're also bound by wildlife rehabber ethics that say if the animal's suffering is too great, we need to decide how much pain and suffering we're going to expose this animal to as to giving it a humane passing. And I can tell you, to watch the little kids cry and have to go up and explain this, no. It's terrible, and it's, you know, nobody goes to work going, yay, we're gonna be able to do, you know, put animals to sleep or anything like that. We are all just about saving them, and it's hard. It takes a great deal of mental health problems with a lot of wildlife rehabbers. Veterinarians face the same situation, and it's rough on our rehabbers.
Sure. You know, whether you're a business or a nonprofit, there's always a financial component to it. Everything we do takes money. Talk about maybe just the budgeting process and the donation process and the funding process and how that all works for you, and how you balance that challenge.
Well, to put everybody's mind at ease, I tell everybody animals will get fed before I get paid. It's just the nature of wildlife rehab. During COVID, our programming funding went down, our on-site funding went down, our financial donations went down, our volunteer crew went down, but our staff and our group of core volunteers, they gave everything. That was rough for them. It's already a rough job, but we put in long hours. We did whatever it took. We still went out and did rescues. But our community gathered around us, and every time we put out a call, somebody was able to do that. I was coming here, I opened an $8,100 check. There's nothing with it, just the check. So I am going to try to call and find out if they, you know, had some purpose or a reason, if they had some connection to us. But I'll tell you what, that will allow us to complete the purchase of our new cargo van. So we've been without a cargo van for 1.5 years, and we were at that point where we still needed 12 grand. So we're still a little bit short, but we're going to be able to, I'm sure we're going to be able to get there and get the cargo van. And, you know, people might say, well, why do you need a cargo van? You're about saving animals. But when you have to travel 2 hours to go do a rescue or a release, you need a cargo van. We use it for education. We use it for just picking up donations. So funding is always tough. Everybody wants to say, I want my funding to go to feeding an animal or feeding this, but you know, we have to pay bills still. We have to keep the doors open. Our mortgage rate just got raised. So yeah, everybody's facing the same problems. So.
Well, it's an amazing gift. If somebody watching wants to send you one of those gifts, where do they send it to?
Just Treehouse Wildlife Center at 23956 Green Acres Road in Dow, Illinois. And if you would like some information back, make sure that you include a little information for us. And we'll be happy to. We're going to be people who donate to the vehicle. We're also going to be doing a sponsorship drive to get that last few $1,000. So anybody who donates $250 are going to get a little possum print where they can put their name, their grandchild's name, business name on there. So we'll be kicking that off to get that last few little bit of money to cover the cost.
Very cool. We'll give more information out, contact information out at the end. Talk a little bit about the team that you have out there. I know you have a great team that you're working with, so just talk about them a little bit.
Very dedicated. We have Sam and Carrie, who are wildlife rehabbers. They came to us with a lot of experience. Sam started off as a volunteer with Treehouse, went on, became our weekend rehabber for a while, went to school, left the area to finish his schooling. Slot happened to be open and he came back to us. So he's an amazing young man who is very, very dedicated to wildlife. Carrie came from Indiana. She had worked at several facilities. She worked with tigers and she worked with bears. And then, she's come here and we're, opossums, wrangling opossums doesn't seem much after you've worked with tigers and bears. And then Seth is a recent graduate of SIUE. He has his educator's license or certificate, so he has raised our education program to state accreditation. He has developed a whole slew of programming. I am happy to announce we also got a scholarship fund grant. So we are now able to provide free programming to under-resourced schools and libraries, organizations who work with peoples at risk. So Seth is getting ready to put our scholarship information up on our website so people can apply for that. You just have to fill out the application and check off that, yes, you do meet the requirements of our grant, and then we can get you scheduled for either on-site or off-site programming. So
a lot of challenges in terms of employees for a nonprofit, because obviously the budget's probably not there. Most people that work at nonprofits don't, the wages are different, shall we say. So how do you balance that challenge? How do you combat that a little bit by, trying to be competitive in the marketplace for employees?
So from how I understand it, we do pay a very good rate for our rehab, for our staff currently, or rehab and our education person. It is higher than what the state requires us to pay. And so right now, we have been able to include short-term disability. So that's our first step. We would like to eventually get into healthcare. The state has mandated that if you have 5 employees or more, you have to provide a retirement fund. Thank goodness they have some sort of program for that, because that would be something that might be make or break for our organization.
Sure.
But we are slowly getting to the point where we can work in some benefits that would attract people to come in and stay. A lot of the times, people have to go off and find somebody who is going to pay them healthcare benefits. And luckily right now, our people are staying with us, but they also know that's where we're working to try to achieve.
It's also got to be part of just the type of work that you're doing has got to be part of the draw too, I would imagine. Because you've got people that have come from all over to work there.
Yes. And we also have an internship program. So we've had people from over 7 different countries who have come and worked with us on internship programs. One of the factors in that is we have on-site housing. So that does make it a little bit more attractive to international interns, because that way they don't have to find housing and go through all of that paperwork. But yeah, it's one of those things where you love it, you're going to dedicate your life to it. And we have Rachel, who had been a former rehabber. She moved on to get her master's degree and then got a job with the EPA. But apparently you can take the girl out of rehab, but you can't take the rehab out of the girl, because she's living in Springfield and she calls us all the time. I've got a duck, or I've got a goose, or I've got an opossum. I'm bringing it back this weekend. So, and then she'll send in and say, hey, this is the treatment plan, just to check in with our current rehabbers to make sure that they agree with what she, anything she might be doing. So yeah, it's one of those things that once you've been involved with rehab, it just seems to be something that you become passionate and dedicate your lives to.
I absolutely. What's the vision for Treehouse Wildlife Center going forward for the next 5 or 10 years?
The next 5 or 10 years, we would like to start an endowment to sort of provide that cushion for us during lean times.
Sure.
And if the economy, doesn't seem to be in our favor, it'd be nice to have that little bit of a cushion. So we would like an endowment. We're working on the cargo van. We would like to get more people Smart Owl Coffee has invested in our scholarship program, so we would definitely like to keep that alive. There is a huge connection between getting kids out into the environment and making a connection to nature.
Right.
So we would definitely love to make sure that we get longevity in our scholarship program. There's just a lot of things we would like to continue to do. We may have to start facing an expansion program or problem. So, hopefully maybe be able to purchase some land from one of our neighbors even, so we can continue to grow. During COVID or before COVID, we had about 800 to 900 animals a year, and that was fluctuating but continuing to rise. I think when I started, it was 400 or 500 animals, and then before COVID, it was 8 to 9. During COVID, it jumped to almost 1,400 animals in that 1 year.
Wow.
So that was something where we were not really prepared for. We figured it would drop off, but our rehab program doubled, while a lot of our budget did not and our staffing did not. So we were very creative, we were very dedicated. And so we thought after COVID it would drop back down, but it did not. It's still slowly increasing. So yeah, we'd like to rehab our clinic as well. We need new clinic cages. We would like to get, just get it a little bit more up to date.
Sure. Along with Great Rivers Tap and Grill, great partners for the show here is the Riverbend Growth Association. Talk a little bit about your membership there and some of the benefits it's provided for you.
Well, we were involved in the youth initiative that they have, the youth committee. So they were looking for nonprofits, and I said, hey, we're a nonprofit. This might work. So
Right.
I was like, challenge accepted again.
Right.
So I was late. Our first meeting, though, I was 15 minutes late. I was like, please, somebody be there. But I was 15 minutes late. So we had the youth.
Well, you work a ways out, so I mean, traffic.
Yeah. So I had to stop and pick up a turtle. That does work, believe me.
Right. I mean, nobody's going to argue with that, right?
Right. So one day I came down the river road, had a meeting, and I had 4 turtles on the road. And I was like, oh my gosh, turtles, find another day to do this. But we've been doing that. I've been going to some of the business nights, and the meet and greets and things like that. So we've been able to promote who we are and what we do to our local businesses. So I'm thinking, so before, in Alton even, we had businesses saying, well, you're not in Alton, so we don't really need, there's no connection for us. But when you have a wildlife encounter, we're who you're going to call.
Sure,
you might try animal control or the police department, but they're going to give you our number. They're already up on that.
Right.
They know the deal. So they'll say, call Treehouse. So we've been able to start making those connections with our local businesses and making them understand that, yeah, we're in that little tiny town of Dow, but we're your resource. And, even SIUE has learned to value that we're not in the Edwardsville community, but we are who their kids are
Sure.
going to learn from if they're interested in any type of animal organization. So it's been huge for us to have that opportunity.
Well, you're located in Dow. It's a little bit off the beaten path, but it is unique in terms of there's not, anything really in the area like this. So
Right. So yeah, our local businesses, the Village of Elsa is really good. They have a couple of B&Bs there.
Yeah,
So they usually, when their guests check in, they hand them a pamphlet. So we're free to visit. So, I mean, you can't beat free.
No, that's a good
so
price.
they are usually like, if you want some entertainment, go check out that before you go to dinner. So Village of Elsa, we've really partnered with them. We help them with their holiday, or their local events, and so it's just been a really nice experience being in that area. people can go to dinner in Grafton or lunch in Grafton. They can bring their picnic lunch out to us even. So make a whole day of it. Eat your picnic lunch with us and then go to dinner at one of the great local restaurants.
If people want more information about donating or getting involved or volunteering or just visiting, where can they go for that?
TreehouseWildlifeCenter.com. So we've got a very exclusive or a very intense website. We believe in transparency. So just about everything about us is on that, probably more than you might want to know.
All right, check it out, folks. Peace, love, and possums. Kelly, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.